Hey all, welcome to Forest County, Pennsylvania and the Forest County Outback channel, where we combine history with the outdoors. Now today is our 50th episode, and for that we're going to do something a bit different. We're going to step behind the scenes and show you what it takes to produce one of these videos. Now, there are 4 things you can do to help grow the channel, gets the word out there. 1 is you can subscribe if you haven't already. 2 is give us a like. 3, share the video. And 4, comment. That all helps. Now you can follow us on Facebook at the Forest County Outback Facebook page. There are 3 very simple membership questions. Please answer them. If you can't answer the questions, I will decline your membership. I want everybody to know what this channel and what that Facebook page is about before they join. And you can email me at terry@forestcountyoutback.com. Hey everybody, sorry to interrupt. We have a new feature today starting with this video. It's an online store. Now we have our merch shelf where we sell things like the cups and t-shirts and that. That's not going anywhere. That will be there, but we have a separate online store, and there will be a clickable link in the video description. It'll take you there, and we don't have a whole lot there right now, but what we do have is the 2025 Outback calendar, and we have a couple versions of the Kellyville panoramic photo. So go to the link, check it out, and thanks for watching. So as I said, today for our 50th episode, we're going to step behind the camera and look at what it takes to put a video together. Now first, I'm going to give some background on myself and how I came to be living in Forest County and making YouTube videos. And then we're going to go through the process of putting a video together. This is Forest County Outback number 50, the making of a video. Okay, I'm not a native of Forest County. I grew up in Economy Borough, in Beaver County, which is near Pittsburgh. Yeah. Ambridge Area High School, class of 73, go Bridgers, yay. That's sarcastic. I did not have a positive high school experience. In fact, it was quite negative. But when I was growing up in the 60s and that, the area, immediate area we lived in was still very rural. There were some farms and that. But the suburbs were creeping in. You could see what was coming, and it wasn't any place I wanted to live. I wanted to live somewhere like this. And when I was a kid, most of, my friends and I, most of what we did was outdoors. And my parents were kind of outdoor people. My dad had grown up on a farm in the 1930s in that area, and he eventually became a steel worker, but he was a country boy at heart. He never lost that. And we used to travel up to Cook Forest, Clear Creek State Park quite often. And that was, anyhow, after high school, I went to Penn State Du Bois. And I worked at Tynesta Lake for 2 years, and I worked at Tynesta Lake for 2 summers as a seasonal ranger. Then I spent a few years kicking around the country, and I came back to Tynesta area permanently in 1981. And I really hadn't planned to stay here long term. My fantasy was to move to someplace like the Yukon. But 44 years later, here we are. Now, my first introduction to the history of this area was talking to the people I worked with at the dam and the Walter Castler logging era railroad books. And a friend and myself used to use those books as a starting point or guide or whatever. We would hike out into the woods and track these places down, the old sawmill sites, the lumber camps, and this and that. And you know, we did that pretty regular for a few years, but then you know, other obligations took over. Family. I was operating my own logging sawmill excavation business. I did that for 28 years, something like, I don't know. It was a long time. So as far as exploring, that kind of dropped off, although during that time I was doing more reading, I was gaining more knowledge, and that eventually served me well. So eventually I decided I'd had enough of vulture capitalism, and I retired. And I had seen YouTube videos of people in other areas doing something similar to what I'm doing, and I thought, you know, okay, here Forest County is being ignored like it almost always is. And I decided to start doing historical videos. And I began doing that in 2020, and I was posting them. I was using a tablet, by the way, to film. I was posting them on a local Facebook group, and they became pretty popular, a lot more popular than I thought they would be, and people kept urging me to do a YouTube channel. Well, and I finally decided to take the plunge, and in August of 2022, we launched the YouTube channel. And that brings us up to today. Now, one of the features of this channel, and all my videos have been, I don't, generally speaking, do videos of Marionville or Tynesta. I've done a couple Tynesta ones, but it was a unique situation because people, they learn about Tynesta and Marionville and they think they know Forest County history, and I'm here to tell you, you really don't. There was a lot of other stuff going on outside of those two towns that was being ignored, and that's what I'm trying to document here and bring to the public. So one question I get asked quite often is, how do you know all this stuff? Well, because I've talked to people, I do a lot of reading, and I do research. And most of the videos start here in this room. And this was my business office. And I had plans when I retired to put a pool table in here. Then I realized I don't have that many friends I want to shoot pool with. And I was actually drawing up plans for a model railroad layout here. And then I started making the videos. And yeah, so here we are. Now, the most important item in this office is this right here, the coffee maker. Without this, nothing gets done. So that's number one, and then we're going to go look at my library. Now, over the years, I've accumulated a lot of material here, and this right here is my personal reference library. And actually, that's only part of it. There's more at the house. And then I have some other reference books here. And again, there's more in the house. Now, this may seem like a lot of material, but it's really not. I mean, this is what I have, or part of what I have. Now, the library in Tynesta, the library in Marionville, the Historical Society, they have reference rooms too. They have research rooms, And it's amazing what you can accumulate on one subject. When I did the series on the cross iron furnace, I really only had a vague understanding of iron making in the 1800s. And this, let's see, yeah, this one here, this folder right here is just what I accumulated on iron making in the 1800s. And this is what I use for my research for that series of videos. Now on these boards over here, we have maps. And maps are essential. Maps can contain so much information if you know what to look for. Now this board here, this is like my master map. It's topo maps of the Forest County and some of the surrounding areas. And these pins they're color coded. They represent places where we have filmed, places we're going to film, places that I have just found reference to but really don't know much information. I need to do more research on it. And it was really funny. During the summer, I talked to a friend and he said, "You must be running out of places to film." And I had to laugh because when I first started doing these videos, I made up a list of 79 sites that I wanted to visit. Well, we're on episode 50 here. That list has grown to, I don't even know, it's over 200, I can tell you that. And they're actually not all marked on this map. I need to spend a day out here and just update this map. I've kind of fallen behind on that. And then this board here, we have some reproduction vintage maps of the area. This one is 1895, 1876, and we've got some older ones. And then over here, I have more maps. Maps I just don't have room to pin up, and you know, that's what these all are. These are old topo maps, and then this area here is where I plant my fat rear when I'm doing a lot of the reading and note taking and this and that. And we've got our computers here, and I tell you what, I have had to learn more about computers than I ever wanted to know. But they are kind of essential to what I'm doing here and keeping track of things. So we're going to take a look at some other places where I do research, and then we're going to get out in the field. Now, besides my office, there's two other places I do a lot of research. One is the Forest County Historical Society here in Tionesta, and the other is the Sarah Stewart Bavard Memorial Library. So we're going to take a look at the facilities in both these places. So one of the other places I go is the Tionesta Library, Sarah Bavard Memorial Library, into the basement, which I refer to as the pit. And they have a collection of old newspapers here, which are a really amazing resource. So we have Marionville Expresses, Forest Press, Forest Republicans, Democratic Vindicator. These are going back well into the 1800s. Now these old newspapers are very, very delicate. And before you go trashing me for using my bare hands, for years the wisdom was that you needed needed to use gloves to protect the paper from your acids and oils in your hands. What experience has taught us is you did more damage using gloves because you didn't have sensitivity in your fingers. So now the conventional thing now is to just clean, dry hands. And these are, you got to stay focused on what you're looking for, because you get into these and you can really go down a rabbit hole reading these old newspapers. So yeah. It's easy to get distracted, so you really got to stay focused on what you're looking for here. And when I come here, I usually have a pretty good idea, although I do pick up some stuff. Okay, here we go. So this is the research room at the Historical Society, and they have a great collection of material here. They have maps, photographs, a lot of written records, and it's really well organized here. So this is actually a fairly pleasant room to work in. A lot of nice natural light, and I guess it was a sunroom in the original house. Anyhow, yeah, this is what I do to do my research, and then from here, once I get all my information together, we head out into the field. So let's proceed on to that part of the video. Okay, now we have done the research and we've done the background. Now it's time to get out there and put boots on the ground. These locations really vary. Some of these sites are right along the road. You can drive right up to them, get out of your car or truck, and you're right there. Other ones, it can be a real expedition getting there. Now, one of the things I try to do when I'm doing a video is to highlight the natural beauty of this area. It's not real dramatic. It's not like the Grand Canyon or the Rockies or that, but it's more low-key, it's more subtle. But it is a very beautiful area. And one thing that really helps with these videos showing locations is this isn't like the area I grew up in, which is now essentially a suburb of Pittsburgh. We have so much public land. A lot of these sites have been undisturbed since they were abandoned. So everything hasn't been bulldozed and turned into housing developments. Like if I go back down to back down to where I grew up, it's hard to recognize the place. And the Forest County just, I don't know, it's just seems to be getting better with age. Now when you do find the remains of these places, they cover a wide range. Sometimes it's just a ditch or a pit, up to including something like this. These, by the way, are the old dry kilns at the Kellettville sawmill. And it's rare that you find these kind of remains, and there's a whole group over there with the kindling wood factory, the boiler house, and over there in the foundations and that. It's not often you see stuff like that. Usually it's quite a bit less. You know, a timber or two in the stream, something like that. Now, one of my major frustrations in doing these videos is not having a cameraman, or at least not one on a regular basis. I've got a guy that goes with me once in a while, and he's really not available most of the time. He does have a life, and being by myself, that really restricts what I can do as far as camera work, as far as cinematography. Now, when I get to a site, I will spend some time scouting around. Some of these sites I've been to several times, like this one here. I'm really not here to film it other than to use it as a backdrop. Some of them, it's been years since I've been there. Things have changed. Some of them are brand new. And, you know, I got to scout around, see what's there, and think about how I can combine the setting, the remains, with the narrative, with the story to tell. And that can be a challenge. And one of the biggest ones was Newtown. And Newtown was a big story, and it's a huge site. And it took some real thinking on how to combine that narrative and the site together. And I got to say, even if I do say so myself, and I am saying it, I really nailed it that day. Well, actually, it was 2 days. It was like I felt inspired, and it was a challenge, but I think I really did. And, you know, I'm not claiming the man with false modesty. Yeah, so anyhow, that's kind of a. So after we're done filming the site, I will take field notes on it. And I got these neato Write in the Rain books I used to use when I was working, and they're pretty handy. So I take notes on it. I will usually do a map, and it's a very rough map, I admit it. Do some compass bearings and some measurements, and I do the measurements by pacing, because, like I said, I'm usually by myself, so running a tape by yourself it doesn't work so well. It's better off to just pace it and estimate it. But something like this is Corps of Engineer property. There's a site report on this somewhere. Most of these places we're going to, they have been forgotten since the day they were abandoned. Nobody's documented them. So that's what I'm doing. And I'll show you what I do with these when we get back to the office. Okay, so we have our video, we have our field notes, our sketch map. So now we head back to home, the office, and we look at the final 2 steps of the process: the editing and writing up a report. So now we're back to the office and we start the editing process. And it just entails loading the information off the videos off the SD card into your computer and into your editing program. I like to use a bigger monitor here because it's easier to see as you're going through the editing process. And now I use Adobe Rush. I'm kind of ambivalent about that program. I mean, it works well when it works, but it gets glitchy. I've tried some other programs, but I just keep coming back to the Rush. So I guess I'm stuck with it. But it, like I said, it works well when it works, which is probably most of the time. I try to shoot my video clips in sequence. So when they come off the card, they're in or close to the final sequence that they're going to be in. It's not always possible. Sometimes you got to shuffle them around, but that really helps streamline the editing process if you can get it down. Now I usually have about an hour 15 minutes or so of raw video, which then I have to distill down to 25 or 30 minutes. And so once you get your clips organized, it's just going through, trimming them back, trimming out the unnecessary stuff and the dead spots, whatever, and try to make a coherent story out of it. And then when that's done, when I'm satisfied with that, I'll go back in and I'll do the effects. I'll do the titles, the dissolves between scenes, and put in the theme music. Now the theme music is, we have several different little tunes that we use. Those were done by a local singer-songwriter by the name of Glenn Basil. And I had asked him about it, and he said, yeah, he'd be happy to do it. So he came over here one day, and he had, I don't know, 10 or 12 songs. And we sat here, had a little recording session. And I like the idea that I'm able to use local talent on this. Now my videos are all organic. I do not use AI. There's a push now, or a fad or whatever, to use AI on your videos. I don't see the point of it, because they say you give the computer a prompt and it'll give you the title for your video. It'll give you the script. It'll tell you what to say. It'll even create the music for you. Well, that's the computer creating it. It's not you. It's not a human doing this. And you're taking the human factor out of that creative process. So what is the point? At that point, we serve no purpose. We're not creating, and creating is these videos is part of what I enjoy. I enjoy that creative process and the challenges that go with it. And I'm not going to let a computer make my decisions for me. I'm not going to let a computer tell me what to say or pick my music. So, organic YouTube. Maybe I could use that as a marketing thing. Organic YouTube, AI free. It's not a bad idea. So anyhow, I can edit a video in 2 to 3 hours, depending how things go. Usually closer to 2 hours. I've got the process down pretty well now. When we first started, I would be like all day, trying to edit one of these things. But I've figured out how to do it, how to streamline a process so I can do it quickly, and I can end up with a final video that I like and I'm okay with. All right, I guess that's all I have to say about the editing process and ranting about AI. I really feel very passionate about that. I mean, if that's a route somebody wants to go down, yeah, you know what? Go right ahead. Don't expect me to go with you. Okay. If, like I said, if the computers are doing everything, what's the point of human beings? You know, it's we're not creators anymore. We're just, you know, consumers. No, I'm going to keep creating my own stuff, and yeah, world can just live with it. Hot, hot. Okay, so the research is done, the filming is done, the editing is done. It's been downloaded, sideloaded, uploaded. It's on the interwebs. We're finished, right? Not quite. There's still more to do. So remember those notes that we were taking out in the field? We come over here to our trusty computer, get into it's Microsoft Word, whatever, and we type up the notes. Now we're still not complete because we have a map here now. So from there we come over to our little drafting area here, and we've got this sketch map, and what we will do is using our measurements in that, we will draw up a more accurate map of the area. I do an electronic file on the site, which I then load to a external hard drive. And I also make paper copies of everything. I do still photography on the site too, so I'll print out not all the photographs, but the important ones. And I do have an electronic file of the still photographs. Everything, I make a paper copy. Everything goes into this file here, or here, into these boxes, and they really need to be in a fireproof thing. I don't put anything on the cloud. I don't trust the cloud. That's something that can just disappear just like that. So I'm doing all this work. I'm not going to take that kind of a chance. And this eventually will end up with the Historical Society in Tynesta. It will take me about 3 days to do a video. I have about a day in doing the research and the planning, scripting out in my head. Filming is usually a full day, and then another day to edit and do the site report. Sometimes it gets into 4 days. Now the question then becomes, why do I do this? Well, because I enjoy it. History is, as the history guy on YouTube says, this is history that deserves to be remembered. And there are a lot more history nerds out there than you might realize. And it also keeps me engaged. It keeps me mentally and physically fit. Most old fart retired activities don't interest me. I don't like to golf. I don't like to sit around and complain about how the world's going to hell and blaming it on the next generation. And I have no desire to pack up and run to Florida at the first mention of a snowflake. And in the last 2 years since we started the YouTube channel, or 2.5 years, I have gotten to do some things which I never dreamed that I would do, especially got to do at this stage of my life. I work very closely with two of the most prominent archaeologists working in the state of Pennsylvania today, and that was a real privilege to work with those people. One of my films, as amateur as they are, was screened in the Archaeos Film Festival, which was not a competition, wasn't going to win anything, but I've been told that the fact that it was screened was a very big deal. This last spring, we had a visit from Gilles, and sorry, Gilles, Gilles watches these. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. I'll butcher it. But Gilles and his wife Florence, and they are French filmmakers based in Paris, and they were working on a documentary with ties to this area. So that was a real experience there. Now I'm also working with a group we're just getting off the ground called the Western Pennsylvania Heritage Filmmakers, and the name is self-explanatory. These are filmmakers doing historic films in this area, and some of the other people in the group have contact with European filmmakers, and we're looking to expand on that and see if we can't bring more of that into the area. Western Pennsylvania, in my opinion, especially northern Pennsylvania, has, I think, been overlooked by the film industry. I think this would be a fantastic place. It's got great locations in that. So we're looking to expand on that, and yeah, it's some pretty exciting stuff. So anyhow, that about wraps it up. Thanks for watching, and subscribe, like, share, comment. You can contact me at Terry@forestcountyoutback.com, and we will catch you on the next one.